Justice Virendra Singh Yadav, Mr. Balraj Malik, Senior Advocate, Mr. K.S. Chauhan, Senior Advocate, Dr. B.P. Ashok, Dinesh Goswami, Senior Advocate, friends who have come here to witness this important meeting, press and media. Good evening to you all. Today we have assembled here to talk about an important issue, a burning issue. This is about the requirement of social diversity in the appointment of judges of High Court as well as Supreme Court. Friends, I would thank Mr. Balraj Malik for taking efforts to organize this, and especially I would thank Justice Virendra Singh, who has taken pain to come from Allahabad and participate in this meeting, and all of the friends, senior advocates who are sparing time, and the other learned advocates who are here. Friends, Mr. Malik was also saying about this. After the Constitution came into force, and till now, if you see the number of judges who were appointed to the Supreme Court, particularly the judges belong to the scheduled caste, I could see the data from 1950 till today. There are only 6 scheduled caste judges who have been appointed to the Supreme Court. And if you see the number of Chief Justices who have been in Supreme Court, till today out of 51, there is only one Chief Justice who had been from this depressed class. Friends, as we are going into the 75 years of the Constitution, whether everyone is getting representation in this higher judiciary is the question raised by many of the people of this country, the stakeholders in the judiciary. Friends, I am part of the Standing Committee for Law and Justice. We used to summon the Department of Justice, Legal Affairs, which comes under the Law Ministry. Every time we used to ask them to give data as to how many judges appointed in the High Court belongs to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, other backward class, women and minorities. Friends, I remember from 2019, we have been persuading the Law Ministry to divulge these details. Every time we raise this question, not only in the committee but also before the Parliament, the answer was, we don't maintain any data. At last, they gave me a data in 2023. Friends, it was really alarming. They gave us a data saying that from 2018 to 2023, out of 684 judges appointed to the High Court, 3% belong to the scheduled caste, 2% belong to the scheduled tribe, 11.9% belong to the OBC, and a staggering of 83% belongs to the upper class. Therefore, where is the equal representation? Now the question which everyone asks us is, where is equality? You say everyone is equal before the law. You say that there cannot be any reservation in the higher judiciary. If you say so, if you say there is no reservations in judiciary, that too higher judiciary, should you not enforce equality? What is the inference you can draw from the data which we have collected from the law ministry? As I submitted, 83% belongs to the upper caste and 3% belongs to the scheduled tribe, scheduled caste, 2% to the scheduled tribe. Now the question arises whether the collegium has not found the competent person from the other communities, or is there no competent person at all from the other communities? Why have you not elevated the persons from other communities till today? What is wrong? So therefore, your answer should be either that, look, I don't find a competent person from other communities. Is that your answer? Or your answer should be, look, I have failed in my duty to identify a person from the other communities. Is that your answer? So therefore, friends, a time has come where all of us should unite and ask for a representative judiciary. You know, the Supreme Court of India is the final court in this country. Likewise, the High Court, they are safeguarding the fundamental as well as the constitutional rights, equally the Supreme Court too. I could see that there is a diversity deficit both in the High Court as well as Supreme Court. And it is not indicative of the wonderfully diverse and pluralistic society of India. Judicial diversity is fundamental to the quality of judging. Many social groups are poorly represented in the judiciary. This may mean their rights are not being properly safeguarded and may eventually lead to infringement and violation of such rights. People of this country are afraid that a very narrow, homogeneous group of judges belonging to certain classes are not necessarily going to reflect the views and values of society as a whole, particularly on the issues involving diverse cultural and generational matters, because they would require more perspective as the judges would interpret and enforce law based on their own background. A more diverse judiciary is desirable because without one, the chances are greatly increased for a violation of the rights on these underrepresented and could indirectly imply discrimination. How else can one explain the lack of more number of women and judges from historically oppressed sections of society? Is it not that they are not qualified enough? The present trend shows representation of socially marginalized groups remain dismaying. The percentage of women judges fall more drastically. Significantly, over-representation of certain sections calls into question the objectivity of the current system and its inability to recruit from the different social groups. There is much to gain from having a judiciary that reflects society in all its diversity. It is extremely important to support and protect diversity because by valuing individuals and groups in a manner free from prejudice and by fostering a climate where equity and mutual respects are intrinsic, we create a fair society which is needed for a country to run smoothly. This crisis of a lack of diversity in higher judiciary, I meant the High Court and the Supreme Court, has caused a lot of fear and agony in the minds of the people of this country who feel that they have not been adequately represented in the highest judiciary. Public faith and confidence is the well that the legitimacy of the judiciary draws from. To maintain this public faith, and especially among litigants, we must maintain diversity in the judiciary. The absence of judges from all sections of society threatens to erode the public confidence in the judiciary and also morale. Diversity on the benches enhances judicial impartiality as well as increased public confidence in the administration of justice. Further, diversity is needed in the judiciary to address the growing diversity in the society itself, as our Indian society consists of a mix of people hailing from different religions, communities, castes, languages and cultures. It is a truism that impartiality is essential to a well-functioning judiciary. The preamble of our constitution expresses one of the grand and noble visions of securing social justice for all. Thus, the courts, that too the constitutional courts in India that has should have a broad-based representation is a need of the hour. Increasing the diversity of our judiciary, higher judiciary, is also about improving the quality of judgments. It means that there will be more varied experiences and perspectives from which to draw on in interpreting and applying a law. A diverse bench collective decision would include complementary perspectives while laying down a law as compared to a homogeneous one. After all, judges are also human beings who are shaped and molded by the strength of their experience. On a close scrutiny of composition of judges which lay down certain laws relating to rights of any community affecting them across the country, it would be apparent that the views drastically changes when they lack diversity in the bench. This problem can be analyzed like this. A judge who was born into the privilege and raised wealthy and in upper echelons of society might not appreciate the law pertaining to the reservations as much as a judge who is born into the abject poverty but has risen to success through reservation and who is not part of the bench which delivered the judgment. Empathy is an important tool in shaping judicial decisions. Sometimes, in order to deny diversity at the bench, merit is used as a proxy to justify the retention of a particular class or community of persons as judges. A judiciary that markedly fails to reflect the social composition of the nation poses a serious constitutional challenge. A bench that reflects society is pivotal to fostering public confidence in the ability of the courts to make sound, responsive decisions. For the public to perceive our court system as impartial and accessible, the judiciary must reflect the diverse population affected by its decision. On some level, we have been aware all along there are hidden biases surrounding the society. It explains why people like to see a bench that includes people more like them who can appreciate their realities and listen with connection. Judicial independence presupposes that judges are non-biased and make impartial decisions, while greater accountability is expected from popular and greater representation. Hence, if there is no diversity within a judiciary, the chances of gaining either judicial independence or judicial accountability are far-fetched, almost impossible. A judge's ability to hear a case, interpret it, and pass judgment is based on his coherent, diverse experience and views. This means that any judgment without considerable ideological and narrative judicial diversity or experiences, without the relative advantage of an accountable or fairly independent judiciary, would be biased and partial. Democratic institutions must have the consent and respect of the citizens. This applies to the higher judiciary as well, and would be lost if judicial decisions are not regarded as in touch with the mainstream views and development. The more diverse judiciary would increase public confidence and gain greater support from its citizens. If the citizens know that they are being properly represented in the courts and there are people who share the same background as them, they would be more comfortable and willing to comply with the judicial pronouncement without any demur. It would also be beneficial to the judges because if they have a diverse pool of people from different backgrounds, gender and cultures in the judiciary, then there will be more skills and experience to gain from when passing judgment, as would equip the judges with experience, views and values they would need to make good and fair judgments. Diversity reflects the rainbow of cultures, community, genders and religions, etc. that make up the India as a whole. It is a key factor required for the smooth running in a democratic state. Diversity will assist the judiciary of the country to be both accountable and independent from any criticism. Few reasons why the quality, fairness and legitimacy of judgments are negatively affected by a lack of diversity, and why this undermines justice, we have to loudly think about this. A homogeneous set of judges will likely have a narrower set of life experiences and very less variety of thought. As a human, a judge's thought processes are bound to be reflected by his or her experiences. Appointing a more diverse judiciary would increase the breadth of thought and understanding in this justice system. Therefore, friends, there had been a lack of representation, no doubt, both in the Supreme Court as well as in the High Court. Now the time has come where we should all stand up unitedly and fight for our rights. In fact, I had, as a parliamentarian, time and again I have been espousing the cause of social diversity then and there. In fact, my leader, Mr. M.K. Stalin, he asked me to introduce a bill to bring a social diversity in the appointment of judges of the High Court and Supreme Court. Friends, I have introduced a bill successfully. That was a great momentum in my life. When I introduced the bill, I told the House that in 75 years after the Constitution came into force, only place where the reservation denied is the higher judiciary. I meant in the High Court as well as Supreme Court. And the entire House allowed me to introduce the bill. And I am hoping that this bill will come up for consideration very soon. If the bill is being taken up, certainly the social diversity, a compulsory social diversity, will be introduced. It is in the another form of reservation in the higher judiciary, and certainly there will be a representation from all sections of the society. The oppressed class, they also, a marginalized person belonging to the marginalized society, will also have a chance of becoming judge and certainly be elevated to the Supreme Court. So therefore, I thank the organizer, especially Malik, for organizing this meet. It is right in front of the Supreme Court, and certainly it is very near to the Parliament also. I hope and trust that the persons who are at the helm of affairs would understand the feelings of every citizen of this country and every stakeholders of this judiciary, and the voices of the downtrodden should be heard while delivering the justice. Thank you very much, sir.